Hey you guys, it's MJ. How are you? I'm a little distracted because I just realized I want to grab a copy of the book. Hold on. Like my PJs, you guys. Like my PJs. I'm actually like well awake. I've been up for hours. I have been up for hours, but I am not prepared. I'm not prepared for this. Of course I'm prepared. I'm prepared and born ready, my friends. Look, I'm like actually like getting all packed and ready. This journal has been my journal that I've been using for I'm not sure how long, probably like a few months or maybe the whole of this year. But it's now getting pretty empty and I've got probably just enough note-taking space for Spirituality Simplified. But just in case, now, these are things I don't buy for myself. These are just things that I accumulate as gifts over time. And journals are one of them because I've always been a journaler. And it's obviously in the book as well as a healing practice to journal and, jot down insights. People call it, and I call it in the book as well, streaming consciousness. So it's like you basically can see more of what's going on inside of you when you channel it and write it down in a notebook, or maybe you keep track of things with your note taking and all of that. So I'm sharing this with you and also making a point about the zero waste thing is like, as a woman, even who journals a lot in the last probably 5-6 years, I haven't had to buy my own journals because people gift them to me. Similarly, like things like makeup, other than, as you guys know, mascara, I don't have to buy anything because people just hook up the prezzies. Although, as I have mentioned, I am using the email from our Zenful Zero Waste course, which your guide, Katie Finch, has shared with us. It's that she wrote an email to her friends and family last Christmas to help her maintain her zero waste lifestyle and to also educate and raise awareness among her family and friends. And it worked, an absolute treat. Everyone got on board. And some of you guys know I'm like a proper traveler, so I rarely have, probably since like 2012 was the year I really kind of stepped away from convention in that regard, and I consciously chose, the man I was dating at the time, I consciously chose to not have. I was like, what? I just want to have a chill day in bed. You go hang out with your family. I'm quite happy to hang out by myself. And following year, I believe the two of us, we went to Cambodia and we visited friends over the holidays. Sometimes I've done family conventional Christmases. I done one in Vancouver last year, and the year before that, I think I was, who knows? Anyway, this year I'm going to be in Indonesia. I'm going to be in Lombok. As you guys know, I'm going to be giving money away. Not giving money away, your money. You guys have helped me crowdfund some cash, over £1,000, for actually 2 different families in the Lombok region, or in the Lombok island of Indonesia. And they're so thankful. They're just ridiculously thankful. And they've been living under tarmac and then just these like shifty, almost like wicker walls, which is better than the tarmac. But like, these people are, again, just like mega generous, mega kind, peaceful, but not oodles and oodles of cash. And after the earthquakes this year, their homes were destroyed. And I decided to crowdfund because Team Love, Katie and I met them last year. And yeah, I've ended up raising, or Alta Love has raised, over £1,000. And I feel so blessed. This is the thing about giving. Like, giving is literally the juice of life. Like, when anyone gets into it, they're just like, how have I not been doing this all along? So I'm the blessed one. The truth is, like, I'm the blessed one because I get to like make myself feel all special by giving these people a whole bunch of cash that they can actually, and not a whole bunch, but like enough that they can buy some things that's going to go and be useful for shelter. Like things like that. Isn't it funny talking about such simple things that we all often take for granted, and then, I don't know, it's just head mess when we're just like, how are we just so privileged? And then how do we get off complaining about anything at all, really? When we have food on our plates and roofs over our heads and friends and family and parents who are alive and, like, anywho, I ramble. I wonder, do I ever do that? No, never. I want to talk about step 5. This has been coming through quite a lot over the last days, probably. It's where the book totally shifts gear. When I was delivering this as an online course, or it was like, it's an online tribe, and in the earliest years, so back in 2016, as I approached publishing this, but before I actually publicly published it, I had a group of about, I think, 11 people who signed up and paid for it as a course. So they sat with me and we went through each section. And the way I divided this book up into like a course, an online course ultimately, was that I broke it down into 3 phases. So phase 1 was the foundational pillars up to step 4, and step 4 finishes on kind of a high because it's all about permissioning ourselves to feel good, which means in the context of the book and the online course, this is where I'm like encouraging people: book a holiday, book a massage, do something to really treat yourself, right? If we really want to implement self-love as a default pattern, we have to practice. We have to practice the ways that we feel are loving ourselves. And it's not necessarily the same for everybody, but it's stuff that would feel good to us as individuals. So, weirdly, even though that seems like, oh, how fun. Oh, great. She's telling me to book a holiday. The polarity of that is the weird and wonderful mixture of emotions that can often come up. Hey, John, how are you? So we can often get guilty. We can often feel anxiety. We can feel a whole host of not so comfortable emotions when we do things that are out of the norm. So we might have I talk about it in the book, like this background noise in our mind going, how dare you? You're not allowed to book a holiday. Or how irresponsible of you. You shouldn't be spending this money here. You should be saving for a blah, 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 blah. So we have all of these assumptions and beliefs and guilt patterns that actually limit our ability to rise ourselves up, right? Rise into more joy. So that's step 4. So you can see how step 4 is a little bit of a lighter tone, although judgment and forgiveness is deep as anything. But we kind of play. We play in a lighter, more, I would say almost colloquial, like more people in the world of law of attraction and spirituality talk about the importance of gratitude as a practice. And step 1 of this text is gratitude. I think it's like gratitude, appreciation, and love. Do you not love how I know the content of my own book? Let's say after 3 years of barely looking at it, though, you can understand that but that's why it's good. It's like fresh for me as well, you guys. Joy, gratitude, and love. And in my opinion, they kind of all go together, because when I'm in a state of gratitude, I'm in a state of love. When I'm in a state of gratitude, I am in a state of joy. They kind of all merge, and yet we can hook into any of them as practices to help bring us back to our center space, right? So you have these preliminary steps, which are very commonly discussed in spiritual circles, law of attraction circles, and this sort of thing. So, intuition, getting to know you, self-study, permission slip to feel good. So these are aspects in the phase 1 of the Fearless Life Guide as a proper kind of step-by-step living in alignment course of study. And then it shifts gears. So this is what today's share is about. I do get there eventually, 10 minutes into a video, but surrender knowing is, I knew it intuitively, is where we like shift gears, where we start to really drop into the center of our knowing and let go of the externalized knowing, as in, I know exactly how this phone works, but do you really know that? Or is it just a mental fixture? Is it just a collective agreement that we fixate on? Which ultimately the entire world as we see it is constructed from within our own thought frequency, our mind, right? That we project it out to look that real. And our ability here is to ultimately transform that projection and make another reality for ourselves. There's lots of similarities with the trees and the seas and humans, but how this earth realm looks, i.e. these dark forces or these big buildings or anything that disrupts the natural harmony of our of our connection to earth. That is like what we're dissolving, transforming, and rising up above. There's a limited construct there. It's, I imagine, sometimes a circle. So if you close the circle, nothing gets in, nothing gets out. A closed mind is a mind that's incapable of surrender. It's incapable of not knowing. And you get that often in ego projection or ego arrogance, talking to people where, well, no, that's how it is. Is it? Is that really how it is? Is that like the ultimate fucking truth of all of life? That's how it is. You know, and there's a friend of mine, and then Wayne Dyer, good friend of mine, not Dr. Wayne Dyer. He's no longer in his earth vessel, but a prolific Hay House writer, speaker, all that kind of stuff. And I'm pretty sure he's either quoting somebody or he says this quite a lot, along the lines of, I'd rather be kind than right, or like choose to be kind and compassionate than trying to be right. Because if we're really honing in on like a rightness, you can imagine that our mind is quite closed. It's like, I have to make a point. I have to be right. But why do you have to be right? Why? Where is that need to be right coming from? It's usually coming from a place of some kind of seeking or desperation or superiority or attachment. You know, the whole idea of our rightness is limited ultimately, because what is rightness? Only to be in a construct of duality, of opposing forces, of blame and attack. We only need to be right if there's something to be wrong against, right? So you can see the polarity that goes against the ultimate unity of our souls, of our energy systems, of our oneness, right? So surrender knowing is ultimately a mental practice of letting go of your mental attachment to what you think is right or wrong outside of you. So it's deep, right? It's like mega profound, and it eludes us. It eludes me too. That's why I believe I'm coming back to the foundation. And I had a nice meeting with Team Love, and all of us are in agreement. And again, we don't even have to talk about this shit. This is what I mean about like telepathy, new age, new paradigm, my friends. When you work in cohort, when you work in inner circle, like y'all are totally ebbing and flowing and communicating on the vibrational level. So like without even having the meeting, once we came to the physical meeting, we all already knew. It was like, oh, it's time to go back to basics. So all of us intuitively knew that we're returning to the foundation of the material as a reminder for whatever reason in the next phase, but partly because the Spirituality Simplified online course that I'm creating. Hey, Andrea, good morning. The course that I'm creating, it's drawn. We're going to draw a lot from this, and I want to expand on this topic. So some of you guys know, I might have shared, but like what I know so far is that so step 2 or week 2 in Spirituality Simplified is simply grace and gratitude. So we're basing a lot of that like step by step on this, but I'm rewriting everything, and I'm writing it with a new awareness, with a new sense of where I am after publishing the book and after having to continue to hold myself accountable to the text and the teachings. And then next level, how can I simplify it even more? Because that's part of maybe a belittling as well, but part of why people are really loving this is just the simplicity of it. It's like cutting out all bullshit, making it straight to the heart of like, you got to feel all that you feel and honor it and allow it. But there's no, at least in my opinion and how I chose to channel and write the messages, there's no out there language necessarily. It's all pretty rooted in practical, simple to read language, which again to me is that channel of how can I be of service to as many people as possible? How can I break down this esoteric, metaphysical spirituality stuff that has been kind of so long denied our human consciousness field? How can I explain it to people in a way that everybody can understand, and then everybody can practice, and then everybody can implement and see changes in their lives, and they don't have to wear robes, and they don't have to be sober, and they don't have to be white middle upper class people. This is for everybody, and that's why I want to open the door for the pay it forward. We're a small business. We're not about to like give everything away for free. I will do that at some point when Alta Love is ready for that. But for now, it's like how can I access, how can I share and give as much as possible? And that's another element, because I have a fairly far reach with people from very different tiers of how much money they might have, right? So my request from people is pay it forward, right? Ugh, dream fog. I love that time of the day when you're just like, ooh, I say I'm stirring. I'm just slowly awakening and I'm stirring. And I've been drinking my coffee this morning. So, um, yeah, making it in simple to understand language, connecting dots for people, like this is why spirituality works, and when you do this, this is why it makes that happen, and da 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 da. And in historical context, this is why spirituality's been denied and or misinterpreted and or used to dominate and control. And I mean, there's a lot of different stuff coming out when it comes to the internet and these rabbit holes and all of that kind of stuff, right? Um, I was kind of like going on something, but I forget now. Yeah. So, like, straight up, I'll read this little line from step 5. In the deepest way possible, you are surrendering everything you think you know. It's just a small little thing, just a small little request. You guys pretend like you know nothing at all. Um, and opening yourself up to a life beyond the one you currently see. So, this is us like bridging. This is the new paradigm pioneers bridging from one world to the next. We basically have to completely ignore everything we've been taught, everything we've been told, all the circumstantial reality that we're told to fixate upon as the truth of reality. We now have to pull into the heart space, detach completely from that reality, withdraw from it, and from within our own consciousness field, bird a higher manifestation of that knowing from within our own highest vision, right? But Matt, it makes sense. We can't do both. So we can't stay in our mind, because that's a huge element of our creative tool. We can't stay fixated on, but this is the reality. This is the truth of existence. Look, I've got a phone. That's real. Look, all this. Oops, all this. This is real. Whatever's going on inside of me is a big pile of shit, and it's not true. Except now we're like, oh, it is. That's why we're creating so much shit. So then we have to stop focusing on that, go within, rearrange, find the harmony, and then vision the new world. And then I could just be an example to you guys. When you start doing that, a whole bunch of crazy, awesome stuff keeps happening in your life. And then before you know it, you're running a business, an online business, and you're creating all these products that are going to help people shift, that are going to help people be the change. And again, it's not been through my like egoic micromanagement because I want to feel like a special human being. This is just born out of my heart, continuing to surrender. Pretty much any time I came up against like control, domination, or like a crossroads, it wouldn't be like power through ego. It would be like, I'm going to surrender. And then in those surrender moments, then I end up buying a one-way ticket to England. And then I end up going to India. And then I end up, so like my big surrender moments really did lead me to the next phase. And I'm here to tell the tale. And I'm also here to tell you that I didn't know it at the time though. But I can promise you, if you take the leap, you're going to be better off. Most of us have to take leaps because we're stuck in shitty patterns. And I talk about patterns here because patterns, you will notice, get worse and worse and worse. Like an abusive relationship, it doesn't tend to stabilize. The abuse gets worse and worse and worse until he or she is lying, just about to die, and then a spark goes off and go, you have to get the fuck out of here. Right? So like the patterns, the insidious toxicity of our patterns, which is a manifestation of our denied darkness aspect, all of that has to be kind of brought to the surface, owned and integrated to be transformed from within itself, and then we can rise. A huge part of that ability to really do that work though is to surrender knowing. Let's not pretend like we know even why the fuck we're doing what we're doing for now. Once we get more clear, to me, it's pretty obvious, right? Oh, interesting that you're mentioning this, Andrea. I just started channeling from someone saying the shift will happen on New Year's. What's your thoughts? So part of me is getting a little bit kind of there's a subtle trigger or an awareness happening around this continuous, and I did shares about it too, the event. And and then now, like it's gonna happen in September. It's gonna happen at the full moon. Now here's my new thoughts. You're asking my thoughts about it. It's um the shift is ongoing. Like evolution is ongoing. Like our awakening is ongoing. It never was. Does that even make sense? So so part of when we awaken, because we're still quite attached to an aspect of separation, we're almost all waiting for some drama. Like when's it gonna happen? And when's the next big event? And when's the and you can see, like, even on a very deep spiritual level, we love the drama. Like, when's this great awakening happening? When's the da da da? And then weirdly, and again, this is like such a paradox, but at this point in my life, having had early awakenings like almost 20 years ago, I'm like, oh, it never ends. We don't get there. There isn't an ultimate destination that we're going to arrive at. We're already here. And the more we surrender and drop in, you are the shift. You are that shift. Your own consciousness field is the shift that you're waiting for, which is why we often do. We keep looking for people to tell us, when's it going to happen? When can I permission myself to live the next level? Now. And always now. And we don't, and whether you think you are or not, you're doing it because we're doing it, right? Um, yes and no, because there are events happening all the time. So like there are blackouts, there are natural disasters, and the event the I would so there's a polarity within events on the physical happening. Yes, I do believe. And like the event there are events happening on various timelines continuously that are ushering the shift. So the natural disasters, the catastrophes, the increasing expose and corruption, or exposing of corruption, and also the increasing seeming division and chaos in the physical reality. So these events are also triggering awakening, triggering the awakening of humanity, us more and more, more and more. More events keep waking us up. And then because the events are quite catastrophic, fear based, they're triggering. We can't live, we can't survive from this way of operating anymore. And so the greater event that is happening all day, every day, all the time is more and more humans choosing, I can't feed that fear anymore. I've got to choose love. I don't want to be angry at the system anymore because I think that's what it wants from me. I'm just going to detach from it. I'm going to, like something feeding off of it. We can unplug, we can detach from it and choose to feed this one another. Find the people who are vibrating more love and feed into that. Choose that. Like choose New Earth projects, choose meditation centers, choose Alta Love, choose other ways of investing and putting our energy, because what we're going to start to see in new paradigm communities are events that uplift us like we never imagined possible, events of congregation, events of us coming together to celebrate the union of our own souls, in remembrance that we knew we always came here for an event like this, not an event like the other, the events that shocked us into fear and shocked us into separation, right? Oh, hey, Andrew, I just saw that you subscribed. I'm so thankful, my dear. However, I think it's only from 3D matrix reality that we're all waiting for some big event to happen, because that's kind of how we were triggered in mainstream media, right? Like the next big thing to get the drama fuel going, and we don't even realize that we're perpetuating, which is why I'm such an advocate for unplugging from that stream completely and knowing that the event, because we self-create it all. And that's like, oh my God, even when because this is why I share so much with you guys, because it always comes back to self-creation, right? And us choosing to see events that bring us into harmony, events that bring us into juicy love, and I believe that New will happen on New Year. So I'm not even worried about a time. I know that we're still in I keep getting this though, and I don't get numbers a lot or timelines, but there's like a 16 to 18th month. And I think I even spoke to some of you about this, couple of you who I had these free calls with. Like there's like the 16 to 18th month transition window. And maybe that's relevant with some astrological timings and planetary movements and stuff like that. But this next year is yeah, a big year of manifestation. Things are going to be popping up into a reality that we've been dreaming about and visioning about for years and years and years, all of our lives potentially. But part of that paradigm shift is that we can now start to focus on the positive events happening around the world, the initiatives that are cleaning up oceans, the initiatives that are promoting and raising awareness on veganism and unplugging and all that kind of stuff. Exactly there. Exactly that. It's like that's it's such a beautiful reflection, right? Because like I just started to get like, oh, come on. Is anybody else getting a bit like in the next wave? And I think it's still just this subtle perpetuation of drama, ego drama. And it's fun. It's fine. We're human. We love it. And it's cool. I just yeah, because of how we're programmed, it's like I think we're all expecting some monumental big event. I mean, what I am aware of though is like economic collapse, global economic collapse is a monumental event. And this is stuff where I could potentially go into drama and fear, and I just really have no desire because I truly believe the new paradigm leaders are or light workers or whatever label you want to slam down. It's like we're ready. We're aware of the depth of disparity when it comes to rebuilding this planet, like rising out of the ashes, rising out of this open heart field, using all of the tools and technology that we've built and created and built momentum through up to this point. But anything insidious, dark, stealing, suckling off of people without their permission, all of those operating systems have got to go, right? Yeah, I do feel like there are um we're not alone. We're not alone, right? What did John say? Yeah. Yeah, the event, exactly. And like anything that disempowers us and as individual sovereign divine beings, so sovereign divine beings, so you guys sovereign divine beings, anything that pulls us out of and of that sovereignty of self-creation that makes us think that there's a creation outside of us that could actually have power over us like an event is potentially feeding a collective story that we might not want to feed. So I agree with John, as in the event is happening inside my own consciousness all the time because I keep choosing love. I keep choosing a world of love, benevolence, and grace. Because that's the world I want to live in. Because inside myself, that's what helped me. Huge. It's helped me live a happier life. Yeah! Scottish music guy, exactly. So surrender knowing. Hell, there's the event right there, my friends. Our one significant event that can take place within ourselves is to surrender the knowing. See? And that's relevant. Yes, I know that this event, do you? Do you know that? Or is that just triggering more fear in people that there's going to be some big event that they're going to have to, it's the classic thing of our Bibles always taught us like the return of the Messiah, the way I interpret it, it's not in denial of these stories. I just interpret them probably quite differently than a lot of people. As in, like, I do believe in our great prophets and our messengers. I just believe we're living in a time where more and more of us are also messengers. We're also people who have access to a higher vibrational way of perceiving. And we're not here to take, and we're not here to steal, and we're not here to kill, and we're not here to corrupt. We're literally just here to be like, guys. If you connect to your heart, you can live in harmony with all of your surrounding and create a juicy, juicy life. If, however, you live in denial of your heart connection, you end up just being a slave to something you created a long time ago through your own disempowered projection. Isn't it nice that we get to choose, though? Andrea, what a joy. Oh, Andrea's Scottish as well. Oh, how well done, you guys. Well done, you guys. I love this connection. I love this community. It's like every technological internet platform has a slightly different vibration, and I do gotta say, like, I vibe a little bit more with YouTube than Facebook. I get kind of triggered more easily on Facebook, and I love how I interact. I love this interaction with you guys. So, Andrea, you're in Scotland as well. And you know John from the music he makes, how wonderful. You guys, thank you so much for joining me. John, I know that you've already bought the book. Thank you so much for buying it. I really appreciate it. Andrea, this is my book. It's, I think, about £15 on Amazon. You can check the link. I think it's in a link. If you want to buy it, feel free. I really appreciate when people buy stuff from Alta Love. I also, if you check out altalove.com, there's like some nice sustainable fashion clothes, just like hoodies and t-shirts and stuff. And thank you. I appreciate that. And of course, the Spirituality Simplified, these courses. I've already launched Sinful Zero Waste. Katie Finch is your teacher, your online teacher for that course. And I'm about to be creating, and I'm starting to get some really, really fascinating and quite radical and very cool public guest speakers for Spirituality Simplified. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Yay! This is great. I had another friend reflect back, sending me a photo that I'd somehow infiltrated their like YouTube suggestions. So I'm like, here's Alta Love TV's permeating people's airwaves from a love heart vibration. Andrea, really nice to meet you, your sister friend. John, always a pleasure. You guys have a beautiful, happy Monday. I look forward to seeing you soon. Lots of love. Take care.